So welcome everyone to the afternoon section of the conference. And our next speaker is Philippe Gilles, who is going to talk about R equivalence for group schemes.
Okay, so thank you, Arturo. So first, I'm very happy to talk today for this conference in honor of the birthday of Robert Moody. And Volodya told this morning how I came to the framework of Kac-Moody group. So mostly by the work of Tits and Bruyat-Tits on buildings. Okay, so that was an entrance. I did not enter in that world by Lie algebras. Okay, so I came to Lie algebras later. Okay, so this talk is going to be about old and new topic, as we will see, which is called R equivalence for group schemes, and which has some relations, and we will see in the talk, with the talk of this morning, about automorphism group of certain nice Lie algebras. Okay, but it comes in say in half an hour from now. Okay, so let me start. And so the talk will have two parts. So the first part is about R equivalence for algebraic groups, and so this is essentially before 2008. Okay, and so this is so I did my PhD on that. Okay, and it's important to come back to that to attack the second part, which will be shorter, which is a new one, which is R equivalence for group schemes. So as you know, algebraic groups are defined over a field, and group schemes are defined over a scheme or over a ring for us today. And this second part is a research and work with Anastasia Stavrova from St. Petersburg. She works in the famous Chebyshev Laboratory of Mathematics. So this is on archive. So let me just say at this stage a few words about the Field Institute. Okay, so I came back at this is my, I don't know, fourth or fifth time here, but I did two research stays. One in the beginning of that century, okay, and one other in 2013 when I met Stavrova here, and as you will see, it was a quite fruitful success. I mean, so my stays in this place were very nice from all viewpoints. Okay, so I will start slowly about classical statement of mathematics, just to tell you about what you are talking about today. So let me recall the Hilbert-90 theorem. So what is the Hilbert-90 theorem? So we take K a base field, so commutative, of course, and we take capital K over small k. This is a cyclic Galois extension of group of cyclic Galois groups Z mod n, generated by this element sigma. And we have a norm map, which is, as you know, the products of conjugates. And since the small field is a fixed field under the Galois group, this norm goes from the big field to the small field. And Hilbert-90 theorem states that an element of norm 1 must be of the shape sigma y over y, with y in K star. So what is clear is that yes, an element like that is of norm 1, but they are all like that. Okay, so this is a very useful statement in, for example, in algebraic number theory or class field theory, whatever. Okay. So the simplest example is that of a quadratic extension, so in odd characteristic, and as you know, so any element u plus square a of v, which satisfies the norm 1 condition, which is that one, u square minus a y square has to be of this shape. Okay, And even simpler case is when you take real numbers and complex number. But here, this is high school exercise. Okay. And so this is one example of what we are talking about today. A second example is about the group SLNK for n larger than 2. And as you know, the group SLNK is generated by elementary matrices. Okay, so what are elementary matrices? Okay, this is this picture. Okay, so you put 1 here, you take IG, and you put 0 everywhere. Okay, and another way is to take the group of upper triangular matrices like that. Okay, the U plus. And as you know, SLNK is generated by UNK and U minus K. And one way to do it, I mean, this is the rank theorem in linear algebra, which is, to perform elementary operation on square matrices. Okay. And what is the relation between the first and the second example? This is, we have two groups, okay? So SLNK in the second example and the element of norm 1 in the first example, because the norm, is multiplicative, is the presence of a nice set of generators for the group of rational points of some algebraic groups, okay? So let me be more precise. Okay, so in this case, the special RNR group, this is SLN, because as you know, it is defined by the polynomial equation determinant to be 1. So this is an algebraic group. And in the preceding case, this is norm 1 torus attached to this field extension. Okay, so let me detail more the second case. Okay, so you use the how is it called? Okay, so you use the fact that K is generated by only one element, by B, and you write the equation over the small field, okay, and then the equation looks like that. This is the norm of these things where the xi are indeterminate, okay, and so this is an algebraic equation of K. So this norm 1 torus is indeed an algebraic group. Okay. So now I come to R equivalence. So this notion did not start at all with algebraic groups. It started by in the 70s. This is in Yuri Manin books on cubic surfaces. Okay, so Yuri Manin was interested in rational points of cubic surfaces, but since today I just discussed about algebraic groups, I will just define it for algebraic groups. So we are considering G a linear algebraic groups over the field K, and so for us this is a closed K subgroup of some GLN. Okay, so you have GLNs, and inside you have a algebraic equation, for example, the orthogonal group or the symplectic group. So, and it's important to distinguish the group GK, the group of points, which is an abstract group, okay, of the group G, of the algebraic group G, which is an algebraic variety, okay? And because we as we will see, we work with non-algebraic closed field. Okay, so if we take 2 points, G0, G1 in GK, they are said directly R equivalence if there exists some element G in GK of T, okay, such that G0 is G0 and G1 is G1. So when I'm writing this kind of equality, it means that it makes sense to specialize, okay? So namely that this G is well defined as no poles at T is 0 and T is 1, okay? And so R equivalence is the equivalence relation generated by this elementary relation. Okay, so I have G0, I have G1, okay, I have G2, and so on, and Gn. Okay, and so this Gn is rationally connected, so R equal to G0, and using the group structure, it's easy to show that actually we can do that in one shot. Okay, so namely that this elementary relation is actually an equivalence relation. Okay. Well, so this is the first lemma of my thesis. Okay. But it is just it's not important, but it's just convenient to know that only one loop is enough. Okay. So this recurrence has several properties. So you have some compatibility with the group structure, and so we denote by RGK the subgroup of GK consisting in the elements which are R equivalent to 1. Okay, so it's kind of connected component in that sense. And then this RGK is a normal subgroup, and the class of R equivalents, GK mod R, this set identifies with GK mod RGK, which is then a quotient of GK. Okay, so we have that, and most of the groups you may think about, for example, split reductive group, do satisfy GK mod R is 1. Okay, and this is quite clear from the Breuer decomposition, for example. Okay, so or with SLN or okay, and in particular, if K is algebraic closed, we have always GK mod R G is 1 for G linear connected. Okay, so you do first the reductive case, the unipotent case, and you match both, and this is okay. So this notion is not very interesting for algebraic closed fields. Okay, and there was a long-standing question. So if the algebraic group G is connected, is this GK mod R a commutative group? Okay, and I should say I try to prove that. Okay, and others. And recently, so during the pandemic, Scavia constructed a counterexample, okay, of that question. So he constructed a group G over some field case such that GK mod R is solvable but non-commutative. And his example is quite weird. It's a unipotent K group, which is smooth, but over an imperfect field. Okay. But this example tells you there is no way to find, you know, a general proof of such a statement. And let me say that for G reductive, so the question remains open, and there are several known cases, mostly by work of Chernusov and Merkuriev, okay, on classical groups. Okay, so you know what I mean is that each time you know to answer the question for G reductive, it is indeed commutative. Okay, so an important property, and I don't want to discuss the finite field case today. Okay, if K is infinite, we have the stability property telling you that this invariant does not change when you add one variable. Okay, so you have this stability. Okay, and this kind of stability when you add one parameter is quite occurs in different areas of algebra. For example, unramified Galois homology and things like that. Okay, so and this is I mean this is a formal statement. Okay, so it's easy to establish, and now if from that we can prove or give some feeling about the proof of an important statement. So if your algebraic group is connected and Kg denotes its field of functions, okay, if this field of function you have some chance it is a rational function field, okay, then you can connect the generic point of G to 1, okay. And with some additional work, so if you are able to connect the generic element to 1, you can imagine that you can connect everything. Okay, and then this is a very important statement for us today. I mean, which is easy to prove, but which tells you that if the group is has some rationality property, so it's a k-rational variety, so that's a way to express this condition for the fraction field, then the R equivalence is trivial. Okay, and so of course, if the R equivalence is not trivial, it means that your group cannot be rational. Okay, and so what's next? Yes, and then only this statement provides a bunch of cases when GK R is 1. So an example is a spin Q for an isotropic quadratiform Q. So for example, so SOQ, this is easy to show this is SOQ K mod R is 1 by using the Cartan-Dionet theorem, because you have these reflections and you can connect this product of even reflection to 1. But for spin, it's more tricky. And actually, the way to prove that is to use that spin Q is for Q isotropics, that's resolved by Platonov. The spin Q is a rational K variety. And so I'm come back to the example. Okay, so I enlarge the example. So I deal now with a Galois extension of group gamma, not necessarily cyclic, and we can consider in the same way the normic torus. Okay, so in terms of points, T of K is defined by this kernel of this norma. Okay, and in Kolyotelen and Sansuk, in their thesis in 1977, they have computed the group of R trivial elements. And so the R trivial elements, the RTK, this is a subgroup generated by element of this shape, sigma y over y for y running over K star and sigma running over the Galois. Okay? And then with that formulation, in the cyclic case, Hilbert-90 theorem rephrased by saying that the norm 1 torus satisfies this property Tk mod R is 1. Okay, so the natural question is to say, yes, but maybe this is general, maybe not. What happens if capital K over K is not cyclic? And the first case where it is not cyclic, okay, this is a biquadratic case, okay? And then in that case, there are examples when Tk mod R is not 1, okay? For example, over periodic fields. And in particular, so as I said before, such a torus T cannot be rational, okay? And actually, we can even show this is never the case. And the fact you have this rank 3 tori, which are not rational varieties, I mean, goes back to Chevalet, okay? Okay, so, well, and so for special inner group, I also enlarge the picture, okay? I'm taking the central simple K algebra, so which is division. So for example, you can take the previous case, D is small k, or D is a quaternion algebra, or something much more complicated. For example, of product of quaternion algebras, of tensor product of previous algebra. And we have a reduced norm map, okay, which can be seen as a twisted determinant. Okay, so if D is k, this is a determinant, and so this is a polynomial function which is multiplicative and nice. And so I consider the K algebraic group SLND, and I just define its K point, okay? And there are elements of invertible matrix n by n with coefficient in D, such that the reduced norm is 1, okay? So this group is denoted often by SLND. And Voskresensky has computed the R equivalence subgroup for this group. The R equivalence subgroup, this is, so what is clear is that this commutator of D star, so first this is a subgroup of SL1 of D, okay? But of course, this element, you can connect them to identity, so they are part of the RG, but Voskresensky has proven this is everything, okay? And this group is known in K theory, okay, and is called also SK1 of D. And with K theory and Whitehead lemma, things like that, we can prove that it doesn't depend of n. Okay, so this is an important invariant. And if n is larger than 2, to connect with the beginning, we can show that this RSLND is furthermore the subgroup generated by elementary matrices with entry in D. Okay. So now I come to Wang's theorem from 1950. So if D is a square-free index, or if K is a number field, then SK1 of D is 0. Okay. So in this case, that tells you that this SLND for n larger than 2 is generated by elementary matrices. And this is important, for doing computation. I mean, for many things, it's nice to have this property to deal with algebraic groups or points of algebra. Okay. And disproving the Kneser-Tilst conjecture. So Kneser and Tilst conjecture, this is always the case. Platonov constructed example of D over field of this shape, okay, which is so it a bit like the field of this morning of Volodya, but I start with QP, but you could start with FP and with some formal variable, okay? But I wanted to have an example of characteristic 0, such that SK1 is not 0, okay? What? Yes? Sorry, yes. You're right. Okay, so here comes a very important conjecture in the area, which is called Suslin conjecture. Okay, and this is an attempt for a converse statement to Wang's theorem. And the conjecture of Suslin is the following: the following assertion are equivalent. So the field has square-free index. Okay? So the index, this is the square root of the dimension. Okay, and square-free means that it can be 6. Okay, but it cannot be 4 or 8, for example. Okay, and SK1 not only SK1 of D is 0, but SK1 of D over any field. Well, it's a bit too much to say any field. You can just take the field of function of this algebraic group. That's enough. Okay, but it is stated like that. And then this conjecture is not only when I'm saying the conjecture is to show that 2i implies i, okay? Because one way is Wang's theorem is not only if 4 divides the index. So this is a theorem by Mercury, and the general case is open. And the Wang's theorem comes back again, okay? Because if K is a number of fields, there are cyclic algebra, for example, of index 4, okay? And then SK1 of D is going to be 0 on this number field, but there exists an overfield F such that SK1 DF is not 0. Okay, so that tells you that you cannot expect to have only S1 SK1 of D in the conjecture. You have to look at all overfields. Okay. Okay. So. I will discuss more the torus case for R equivalence because it's totally well understood. So what is a torus? It's a linear algebraic group such that when you extend to a separable closure, this is a product of GN. Okay, and Collier-Taylor and Sansu constructed a so-called Flash resolution of a torus. Okay, so this is something like that. So you have T, you have another torus E, with another torus in the canal S. And where this torus E is a quasi-trivial torus, so it means that when you look at the K point of E, this is given by the multiplicative group of an étale algebra, or if you prefer, by K1 star times Kn star, where each Ki is a finite separable field extension of a small k. And S is a Flash torus and this is defined by a cohomological statement. So H1L of the S0 hat, this is a co-character group of S. Okay, so this is Galois module, and you have the vanishing of the H1 of Galois cohomology for all finite extension of small k. And then when you have a sequence like that, you can take the point, okay, and here Galois cohomology shows up. So namely, there is no reason for a point from T of k to come from E of k. So you have an obstruction which is in this group of Galois cohomology H1ks. So H1ks is a Galois cohomology group of the k torus S. And so this is on the next slide. Okay, so we have this sequence. So what is clear is that this E of k, those elements, you can connect them to the identity. Okay, so we clearly have that the projection of EK in TK is inside the RTK, the group of R-trivial elements, and the main result of this paper of Coyote and Sansuk is that delta induce an isomorphism between TK mod R and this group of Galois cohomology. Okay, and then Hilbert 90 you can see as kind of vanishing of this statement, and from this theorem you can get another fundamental result, which is somewhat the Suslin conjecture in the case of tori. This is to say that T is R trivial. So it is not only Tk mod R is 1, but Tf of R is 1 for each field f of k. If any flash resolution are not unique, but essentially unique, you can always, play with them, that this torus S is invertible. So what does it mean? It means it is a direct summand of a quasi-trivial torus. Okay. So in other words, to say that a T is R trivial means that he has a very nice resolution SET, okay, of very special type. Okay. And the third statement, this is to say that T is a retract rational variety. So it's not rational, as I said. This is a lighter version. Okay, which is a kind. You can think as a direct summand. Okay, if you want. Of topology, this is a retract. It's clear what it is of a rational variety. Okay, but if you don't see what I'm talking about, just think about rational variety as approximation. This is good enough. Okay, so R equivalence is totally understood for tori, and now I come what I call the Knesertitz case. So what is a Knesertitz case? So this is our terminology of today for a semi-simple K group G, which is simply connected. Okay, so simply connected thinks about the complex group. For example, SLNZ is simply connected as a topological space when SON is not. Okay, over this complex number. Okay, and isotropic means that you can embed in your group a GM. So this is what means isotropic. And I have also a condition on the Dynkin diagram. I want this Dynkin diagram, the geometric Dynkin diagram, to be connected. Okay, I'm not interested in products or Weger restriction, whatever. I'm taking the simplest one. So examples are of such a group are SLND for n larger than 2, the group we have already seen. Spin Q for an isotropic quadratic force, but of course you have group of type E6, G2, C, whatever. Okay. And the important assumption, okay, I already said, but it doesn't matter. So it's isotropic. So that is the example, the fact you have GM inside G. So, and when you have such a thing like that, you can associate, as you know, this so-called Richardson parabolic. And so to a map like that. And so that's the way from an element like that, for a morphine from GM to G, you can attach a parabolic subgroup. Okay, so parabolic, you think as this kind of large subgroups. Okay, and so when you have a parabolic, you have an opposite parabolic, P minus 1, and what we want to do is to generalize a group of elementary matrices. And so what we take, we take the unipotent radical. So unipotent radicals is just to take this part here. Okay. And of course, also the opposite part, the U-1, and we consider the subgroup generated by the points of this U and the U-1. And so this is this group does not depend of any choice. Okay, so this is was proven by Borel and Titz, and it is denoted by GK plus, and it says normal subgroup of GK. Okay, so this is a group of elementary matrices in that setting. Okay, and this the quotient GK mod JK plus is called the Whitehead group of G. Okay, and of course we can ask the same question as before: is that group commutative? Okay, and so it's open question, but I really think it is commutative. And property of the Whitehead group. Okay, so I think everybody here knows this result by Titz in 1964. So as I said, I do not want to list the small list of exceptions. So to get rid of that, I assume the K to be infinite. So I'm not saying that GK plus is simple, but if you model GK plus by the center of the group, it's a simple abstract group. So of course you have to show first that CG of K is a subgroup of this one, but this is true. And of course, if GK is GK plus, okay, if the Whitehead group is trivial, then this tell you, okay, that GK mod its center is a simple abstract group. So maybe you know this statement for SLN, where there are nice variant proofs, and a very nice one is due to Iwasawa. So now I come to another result on this Whitehead group, which is mine. So this 2007. So that's the reason why I put 2008 in the introduction. So you have a natural map from GK mod GK plus to GK mod R. Why? Because all these unipotent elements you can connect them to the identity, and you can connect that even in a better way because you with no poles. Okay. So this map is an isomorphism. Okay. So R equivalence quotient is exactly the same thing as the Whitehead groups, and a corollary of that, if G is a k-rational variety, once again, is this function field is a purely transcendental over K, then GK is generated by unipotent element, and GK is projectively simple, so namely simple up to the center. Okay. So you see that R equivalence tells you for this case, this is really the obstruction to have a nice set of generator for the group GK. Okay. And let me give me an example when it works. Okay. So if you are given an isotropic quadratic form, so I'm discussing just the even rank case. So in this case, the center is 2 copy of mu2. Spin QK mod is 2 copy of mu2 is a simple abstract group. Okay. And so that was known, of course, much before that by Platonov. Okay. And there are many other cases when the choroidea applied. So, for example, trilateral groups. Sorry, this group here, okay, which is just. And so for this kind of group, this is the method. So there are no other method to prove that GK is generated by unipotent elements. That's what the method I said. Okay. And so those groups were considered by Jacobson maybe a long time ago. Okay. No, so sorry, since I'm going to switch to the second part, maybe it's the right time for questions. No? So, no? Okay. Okay, so I go to recurrence for group schemes. Okay, so I cannot use the letter R for rings because it conflicts with recurrence. So my ring is going to be B. It conflicts with Borel, with no. But Anastasia has chosen that B. Okay. Well, but anyway, so we have a ring and we are interested in closed subgroup scheme of some G and B. Okay, so you can think as the usual group, I mean orthogonal, whatever. Okay, but this time we are over a ring. And let me be clear, the motivation for extending the theory of Eric equivalence is to study subgroups of GB which are generated by nice elements. Okay, so that's really what we want. Okay, so to have and this is I mean, for example, I did study G torsors over curves and things like that. It's really important to have concrete elements to deal with in certain situations. Okay, and let me just say that the simplicity issues for G of B are not relevant beyond the field case. I mean, this is really stupid. Why is it like that? Because if you have a ring, you take a maximal ideal, right? B over M. Okay, and so if you have a each time you have a map like that, okay, you have a map to B mod M, right? Okay, so there is no way for a group like that to be simple. Okay, so forget about simplicity statements. Okay, so what were the requirements? The requirements to define GB mod R are, of course, firstly, to agree with what we have done in the first part for fields. And secondly, I mean, we do algebraic geometry, so we want functoriality in the ring. Okay? So there are the two requirements. And our chance is that it was not done before. Okay? Because once you the problem is it's almost clear what the answer is. Okay? And what is the definition? So I'm giving you the solution. We need to deal with the localization of the ring of polynomial of BFT with respect to a multiplicative set sigma of B, okay, of the ring BT. And okay, so what is this multiplicative set? This is a subset of polynomials having invertible values at 0 and 1, okay? And then what is the reason to choose this ring is that the crucial point is that when you look at the specialization map at 0 from BT to B, which take a polynomial and maps it to P0, then this extends, okay, to this localization 6. And of course, similarly at 1. And then since I have this evaluation map, I can extend my definition. So 2 points G0, G1 in GB are directly R equivalent. If I can take G with value in G of this big ring, which satisfy G0 is G0 and G1 is G1. Okay, and as before, okay, so I just write this thing. So this is an equivalence relation. And it fulfills the requirement. Okay, so this is functorial in B, and if you look at the field case, it's exactly what we were doing, because in the field case, if you look at this KT localized at its sigma K, if you want, so this is nothing but the semi-local ring of the affine line at 0 and 1. Okay. So, okay. Well, so now we have a definition of Eric equivalence. What can we do? Okay, so of course I could consider all groups, but I just focus to the two cases we are discussing today. So the Toral case and the Knesertis case. So for the Toral case, the job was all small done in another paper of Coyote and Sansuk in 1987. So they did a kind of theory of flash resolution for tori. So there is, well, of course, we are over rings, so we have to be careful with the technicalities of the algebraic geometry. But those are essentially done in the Grothendieck, De Mazur-Grothendieck seminar. So the nice tori's to consider are so-called the isotrivial. So what is a B torus? Okay, which is isotrivial. So it means that you have a Galois cover C of B, such that when you extend T times B over C, this is the product of torus over C. Okay, so if your ring is normal, for example, this condition is always satisfied, but there are funny examples where the constitution is not satisfied. Well, so I'm not so let's just me say that we have also the theory of Galois cover and so on over rings. Okay, so this is Grothendieck fundamental group. Okay, so we use that, and then there is a notion of flash resolution. And similarly as before, we can show that the element coming from this E provides R-trivial elements. And what is the extension of Galois cohomology over rings? This is the étale cohomology. Okay, and we have an exact sequence like that. And so here, this is the H1BS of étale and H1BE of étale. And here there is some assumption. Okay, so we assume that B is a regular domain. Then we have a map from TB mod R to this kernel of étale cohomology. This is an isomorphism. Okay, so it works almost the same like in the field case. And if B is furthermore semi-local, then the H1BA is trivial. So TB mod R, this is exactly what H1BS. Okay, so and of course this provides an abstract way to deal with Hilbert 90 over a local ring. Okay, so. But of course, this Hilbert 90 over a local ring was known, for maybe 50 years. Okay, but of course, I prefer to include that Hilbert 90 over rings in my framework. Okay, and also, well, it will tell you how you over a non-local ring Hilbert 90 may fail. Okay, so the obstruction will be this this étale cohomology business. Okay. Well, so the Toral case is nice. So if you look at our paper, we'll see we have many other consequences of that. But I mean, this is just an abstract of what we have done. And now I'm going to the Knesertis case. So granting to SGS3 again, we can talk about semi-simple, simply connected B group scheme, which is isotropic. So that's the same condition with some GM inside. And I want that all various linking diagrams are connected. Okay. And so isotropicity provides then a co-character map like that. And we can define, like in the field case, this parabolic group PG lambda. Okay. And its opposite parabolic subgroup PG minus lambda. Okay. And so they have unipotent radical UG and UG minus lambda. And we have a candidate for the group of elementary matrices, which is the group EG lambda, which is generated by the B point of UG lambda and B point of UG minus lambda. But here you have to be careful because over a ring, in general, the this group here does depend of the choice of lambda. Okay, it's not as wonderful like in the field case. Okay, but there are two cases when this group of elementary matrices is really intrinsical. First, when the ring is semi-local, okay, we generalize the field case, and secondly, when G is of big rank larger than 2. What does it mean? It means that instead to embed Gm in G, you can embed 2 copies, okay, of G. And when it's so when it is the case, we allow ourselves to name it GB plus, okay, and this is then a normal subgroup of GB, and we have an analog of a weighted group. Okay, so now I come to the main results. So we assume that B is a semi-local regular domain and that it contains the fields. I will discuss a bit why this last reason. So we consider let capital K be the fraction field of B and assume that K of G is a retract-rational field. So a rational field, sure. Then I'm saying that GB mod R is 1. Okay. And then so it tells you something about R equivalence in this case. And if furthermore G is of B rank larger than 2, then GB plus is GB. So in this case, using result of the algebraic group over the fraction fields, there are many occurrences. So of course not that one because it's rank 1, but rank larger than 2. When we can say that G of B is generated by my nice unipotent element. Okay. Well, and an example is spin Q for Q a twice isotropic quadratic before. Yes?
I'm sorry, second statement, you mean modular power? Because B is a field, it's not the GB losses.
No, no, this is okay. GB plus that group generated by unipotent element.
But it's not GB, GB mod power.
No, because I have this rationality assumption.
Okay, sorry.
No, the furthermore includes all the assumption of theorem A.
So you assume it's
Yeah, sure. Else, of course, is no reason to be. Okay, but an example is spin Q. Okay, and another example is of rank 2. Since I cannot use this one, this is G is of type E7 with this following this index. Okay. And well, let me discuss a bit the condition. Okay, so it's quite clear. Semi-local regular. I mean, you can expect this condition. Okay. What is unpleasant? Two things are not good enough. Okay. One is contains the field. Okay. So we are not able to do the arithmetic case of this theorem. And the reason is because of the techniques we are using. We are using, things coming from case theory like Quillen presentation lemma on Garber tricks, which are for local rings which contains a field, which have some. For example, Cessna-Vicious is trying to improve or to generalize all this kind of statement to an arithmetic situation and you can read his papers. This is very complicated. Okay, so this is because the lack of techniques at the moment. We cannot get rid of that. And the other assumption we like to get rid is B rank 2. B rank 1 is more plausible, but the problem is we are okay in the proof. We need that. Okay, so well. And let me talk about the comparison theorem. So the B is as before. And what I'm saying is that and G is as before as well. Okay, so namely is Klensert is no. Yes, and G is as before as well. Then what I'm saying is that this map GB mod R to GK mod R is an isomorphism. So this comparison thing is more general we have said. I mean, it's a stronger statement. Okay. So namely, the obstruction, okay, is very rigid in the sense it does not change. The obstruction to parameterize element does not change when you pass from a local ring or semi-local ring to its fraction field. Okay. And again, and if you specialize to the case of rank 2, then the Whitehead group has the same property. And actually, all these groups coincide. So the first group you can see on the screen coincide. Okay. And okay, so those are the main results. So no, I said at the beginning I will discuss a bit about the Kac-Moody group case. So what I call Kac-Moody groups, which were the group G of R of this morning. Okay, so we assume that B is a Laurent polynomial ring in n variable with K of characteristic 0, and I'm taking G of R be a group scheme of Kneser shape. Okay, and arising from the loop construction or equivalently with a G carries a maximal R torus. Okay. So actually, by Stavrova's theorem, we know that this condition is not needed. But okay. But anyway, so the question is the map from GB mod these matrices, this group of matrices, group of elementary elements. When you go to the same field that this morning, this field of iterated Laurent series to G is bijective. Okay, what is the advantage of that? Is on the right hand side we know a lot. On the left hand side we don't know much. Okay, and so you have to think that we want to measure the defect of this G of B to be generated by these nice unipotent elements, you know. And well, what we have established with Volodia and Arturo is that this map is always surjective, but this is a theorem of Stavrova. One R is missing in 2015. So if G is of R rank larger than 2, the map above is bijective. Okay. So then we have yes, we have some control about generating the G of B. G mod B by unipotent elements. Okay. Okay. So I still have some time to discuss an application. Okay. An application is a specialization of R equivalence. So now we assume that B is a local domain of fraction field K and residual field small k. So we are given a reductive B group scheme, and the question which was raised by Coyote was to define a natural map, whatever it means, from GK mod R to G small k of R. Okay, and so since we are able to define R equivalence on B as well, okay, this problem is just to complete the diagram. Okay, so you have GBR, and we want to complete by some dot arrow this picture. Okay, is there a way to to factorize like that? Okay, so and so this is not a simple problem, and actually, but if you know to do the Enselian case, so Enselian case, or the complete case if you want, okay, it's the problem reduced to this case, and we already did that in the case of an Enselian or complete DVR, okay. So I did that a long time ago myself, and okay, so I repeat, and my proof was based on compactification of algebraic group and wonderful things, wonderful compactification. I mean, I was using some some material. So recently there was a different proof by Koyoteinen, Arbeiter, Hertmann, Krashen, Parimal, and so 6, okay, which is much more elementary, okay, in the sense that they use less results. And the same authors handle the case of a regular local ring of dimension 2, okay, which is very important for what they do for studying certain local global principle in Galois cohomology, okay, and specialization. So with the formula we have for tori, it holds, okay. So if we have B regular and Celian, we have a wonderful picture in the sense we have that this TB mod R, this is the same thing that TK mod R, K being the fraction field, and also at the residue field level. Okay, so tori are very nice, but what we have proven with Anastasia, this is the following result, which has a bit the flavor of this morning, but be careful, this is only over small k, G defined over k. Okay, I do not allow any more complicated group. And then the result is what, if you take GK mod R, and here be careful, we take not the Laurent iterated, because Laurent iterated series are quite simple fields. I'm taking the fraction field of the Laurent of this power series ring, which is a much more complicated field. Then when I'm saying that all these maps are isomorphism, okay, and then and let me just tell you that the case of two variables or t variable is much more complicated than the case of one variable. Okay, there is a big step, and actually this provides the so-called the geometric case for specialization. Why? Because when you have a group, which is defined over some local ring of some variety, okay, or some smooth variety, up to completion, this local ring looks as a power series ring. Okay, so this case looks very specific, but not for the specialization problem. Okay, so yes, I'm on time. This is good. So thank you for attention.